All right, everyone. Now we have to talk about the death penalty. Link in the description, archived, of course. I am not a fan of the death penalty. It's not because I think that there aren't certain people who deserve to be killed. It's because I believe that the government cannot adequately distinguish between a person who is innocent and a person is guilty in many cases. So, in some cases, it's fairly obvious. Now, here's the video footage of you literally shooting someone. All right, well, you're probably guilty. Here's video footage of you doing something terrible. In some cases, though, you don't really have that kind of evidence. You have circumstantial evidence. You have a claim, you have a witness, or whatever. I think that the standard for the death penalty, if it's going to exist at all, should be quite high. And also, I would note that a person who is on death row is costing the taxpayers an enormous amount of money for an excessive period of time because of the endless appeal system. 20 years later, they finally go to Old Smoky or something like that. That being said, there's a debate being raged right now with regards to the existence of firing squads. In several states, firing squads are now a method of execution. They hadn't been for quite some time. Mostly it was you electrocute someone, or you give them the lethal injection, or you put them in the gas chamber. Ultimately, I think that if you're going to have the death penalty, and I don't think that it should exist at all, firing squad is actually the best methodology. It is more humane. It is more ethical. I know what some of you are going to think literally right now. Well, if the person has done something terrible, why should we have any mercy on them? Maybe it's good that they suffer, because the lethal injection sometimes it doesn't even fully work, and then the person doesn't even die, and then you have a legal conundrum. In some states, it's like, oh shit, we tried to kill this person. They survived anyhow. They're all messed up at this point, but we can't do anything about it because shit, we fucked up. Real, real bad. We didn't get the dosage right or something like that. With a firing squad, it's a little bit more straightforward. If I was going to have to be killed, I would choose a firing squad. I'd say just drop me. Shoot me in the heart, let me bleed out. It'll take, less than a minute. And there we go, basically. As opposed to being electrocuted, sometimes the electrocution system fails. That's happened a couple of times. Lethal injection is probably the least humane of them. And the gas chamber, that's pretty straightforward. Oh, yeah, you're deprived of oxygen. Well, you're going to die. How wonderful. You're going to asphyxiate. I would think that it would be preferable to simply shoot people if you have to. I don't believe in the death penalty at all. I don't think that it should even exist because I don't believe the state should be the arbiter of life and death. I would say that the maximum sentence you should get is life in prison without parole for the most severe of crimes. It's straightforward, no appeals, just toss the key, basically. It also costs less. It costs less because if a person is put on death row, the automated appeal system means that 20 years later, they're probably still not dead. So in some cases, you haven't actually sentenced them to death. It depends on their age. If they're 20, of course, okay. When they're 40, 45, all of a sudden they get killed. But if they're 60, they probably die in prison with endless appeals. It makes absolutely no sense. We should streamline the justice system. By the way, having been inside of that system, there's not a whole lot of justice to be found anyway. I met people who I genuinely believe didn't actually commit any crime. They seemed like perfectly fine individuals. And it's just the system lashing out, basically. It's basically the government's version of a temper tantrum. Why would I want this same government, therefore, to have the ability to literally cause a person to die, to execute them? Half of these people are probably innocent. You've also had cases, and this is another reason that I'm against the death penalty. You have had cases where people have been convicted of some terrible crime and they're put on death row. But then, like 15 years later, we find out, oh shit, they weren't actually guilty at all because they don't even consider forensic evidence sometimes for decades. And so they're very, very lucky or unlucky because once they get out, of course, they can get their record expunged, but half the people that they knew are dead. All of their friends thought that they were insane or criminal in some way, and they don't have any job, and they don't even understand, maybe the technology that's being used at the time. This happens fairly regularly, unfortunately. It happens multiple times a year. Now, are most of the people that are put in jail or prison guilty? Yes, absolutely. But then there are a handful of times that somebody is claimed to have done something wrong and they didn't do anything wrong. Ultimately, or at least not categorized in that kind of crime. And some of these people end up on death row, so it's like, you raped this woman and then slashed her head off. And it turns out it was just someone who looked like you. You can end up on death row for that simply because in a lineup somebody decided you were the guilty party, even though you're not the guilty party. You literally did nothing wrong. And I hope that you have a strong alibi. You know, hey, at the time that this happened, allegedly, I was eating a chicken dinner. That would be an alibi potentially. Stranger things have happened in the legal system. It's a very, very strange one. Trust me. Firing squads, though, if you're going to have a death penalty, make more sense than electrocution. They make more sense than the gas chamber. They make more sense, certainly, than lethal injection. Lethal injection is considered the most humane, but it's the most inhumane because sometimes it outright fails. Well, we tried to stop your heart, but your heart didn't stop. We fucked you up. We're going to have to try over again. And they'll literally do it 2 or 3 times if they need to, because, we got the death penalty. You've got to die. The state has decided that you shall be executed. It's a little bit like the medieval era now, isn't it? That's about all. Peace out.